Welcome to the Feel Better, Be Better show. Today, Kait and Nevada will answer your questions and introduce new topics designed to help feel better and be better. These are raw conversations, but they will make a difference.
All right, everyone, we covered some very interesting stuff today. What do we have? We had hitting circuit stuff we were going through for the most part.
Hitting circuit stuff, questions about how we set everything up for practices and what we look for. And
yeah, there was a little bit of talk of post-stride in there.
A little bit of talk of post-stride. Got a little bit off on some tangents here and there.
No, I would never do tangents. Actually, I wouldn't know what to do if it... What's a non-tangent?
I don't know, but if we ever figured it out, you would never use it.
I would never be on that. Yeah, I would never use that. So, obviously, geometry was not my major thing. Anyway, hope you enjoy. You guys have a good one. People talk to me about our hitting sessions that we do weekly. Mm-hmm. And kind of had some feedback on, different things that they think we should do or not do. And, of course, I, engaged and talked about that stuff. But I know you put a ton of effort, a ton of, thought behind having the right thing build as it goes and everything like that. So I wanted to kind of sit down and talk to you about all the things that you look at in going into building a multiple week, multiple session hitting development program.
Sure. Yeah. I really think for a lot of it, go back to kind of like the beginning when all this kind of started. Kids do better when you keep them moving and you keep them in small enough groups that they're not sitting around waiting. And so...
Yeah, the last thing you want is a bunch of kids, having time to go, what's going on over here?
Let me swing my bat around and do things not related.
Hit somebody, pick dandelions out in the field, go over here and collect rocks or something. Who knows?
Exactly. So, from the very beginning, I really worked on making... Which, at the time, it was just me and one other person. And so there wasn't a lot of necessarily manpower to do it, but making what couple stations can I have that I break the girls up into smaller groups to keep them moving? And what fundamentals can I do that are quick and moves them through and keeps them going, keeps them engaged, doesn't make them get bored? So that was always kind of like the start to everything. And I do that for fielding and hitting. And then the last couple years... you and I have bounced a lot of ideas off of each other, just kind of building specifically the hitting circuit more than anything, because we've both talked. It's really frustrating when you come to go hit and you just are thrown right into the station that has to do the cage first. Mm-hmm. And you miss out on T-work, soft toss, and all that, because that's where you kind of work on the fundamentals of your swing before you get into where the ball's coming at you and you can't think about what you're doing anymore.
Well, it's kind of like a warm-up, build-up. You're kind of basically... flowing all of that through where it's like, okay, I start off on dry swings and go to T work and then, complex T work, soft toss, long toss, front toss, all that kind of stuff to be, okay, now I'm in the game. Now I'm hitting off the pitching machine or whatever it is.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was really kind of one big issue that we try to tackle, because when you have multiple girls, it takes time if you're starting them all from the same tee, or dry swings or whatever you're starting with off at the beginning. And so how do you make a circuit work like that with multiple players to where you get everybody through and they're able to start at that base fundamental layer and then work their way up and warm up and to be able to do front toss and machine. Mm. So that's kind of what we troubleshooted through, build off of. Couple hacks from that is you can stagger your times when your girls kind of come in and start. Yep.
Which, when you're outside, if you're setting up a practice, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Shockingly, right at 6 o'clock, everybody shows up at the same time. Just doesn't ever happen.
Yeah. You definitely get girls early and then girls that straggle in a little late. So, it kind of makes it perfect to start girls.
I wouldn't know anything about that, though, because I've never been on time.
Most punctual. You win the award.
Yes.
No, I see those memes all the time about if you got $1 million, but the person... What was it? It's like, if you get $1 million because you invited someone to something and they came up late, who would you invite for sure to know that you would win that money? You.
Yes. Guaranteed. Yeah, I literally was heading to a poker game, and I told them I was going to be there at 6, and for some reason, I can't remember what happened, but I was going to be there at 5. I knew they were playing early. I told them I couldn't be there until late. So I sent the guy that I knew really well. I was like, you want a way to split $1,000 between the both of us? And he was like, what? And I go, bet that I will be there before 6 o'clock. And he was like, why would I ever do that? I go, because I'm 10 minutes away. And he was just like, that is awesome. And he goes, the worst part about it is nobody took the bet because he was like, everybody knew something was up when I said, let's bet, I want to bet on Nevada being here early. So, yeah, it was, never early. Never, ever early.
Oh, that's great. The other thing that we kind of worked through troubleshooting is having multiple start groups. So, like, we've had in our hitting circuit right now works really good if you've got like 6 to 8 kids where you've got 2 tees set up. So you've got 2 groups of 3. And they both go through the same progressions as dry swings, tee, soft toss, long toss, front toss. Keeps everybody kind of moving, and then when you get to front toss, you kind of have to rotate them in or do multiple front toss stations, but keeps things going in a positive direction.
Still waiting for them to get mad at us on that multiple front toss station thing, because they don't like the fact that we're hitting like out. Nobody hits middle out, and we're just like, I don't care, we're going to hit middle out.
Wait till next week when we go side to side.
Oh, I know. I'm really looking forward to that look of like, what are they doing?
Yeah, and you're really like, you can't get mad because they literally hit the side of the cages anyway, so It's just not the way you normally want them to. Yeah,
I think the biggest thing I'm going on that one is don't let the confines of what somebody else has on the the place you're in control you. Find a way to make it work. So for us, we really wanted to be able to run 2 kids at one time through front toss. So we were like, all right, we're just going to cut the cage in half, put these screens up in the middle, and we're going to hit out. Nobody thinks about that because you're just so used to plate here, pitching machine here, and that's all you do. And everything is like your mind gets stuck in that is how it's supposed to be. Nobody ever says that. You can hit anywhere you want. It's just a cage.
Yeah.
Make it work for you.
Same with the field. I mean, as long as you've got people angled to where the ball's not accidentally going to go over the net or from a station and hit another group of kids, make it work for you. Maneuver around the best you can. I mean, when we're out on the field, I've got like 3 stations lined up down the outfield, usually on the right side because most girls are right-handed and will pull to the left side, and your front toss way up there, and I've just got to maneuver to where they go around, but you've got so many stations and you're spread out enough that it works.
Yeah, it looks... I'm sure everybody that drives up thinks that we have no clue what we're doing because we got them all lined up all over the place and it looks like a randomized chaos. And some of the kids had trouble with it too because they're just so used to being at home plate hitting. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just gotta help break them of that. Yeah. And we did. Now everybody just does, and they just go crazy.
Yeah. The other thing, too, is just getting them used to the flow. Like, we've gotten to the point where at practices we have enough people that they go from station to station, and they've got a coach or a parent there that runs that station, and so they show up and they do the work. But even moving, like, quickly from one station to the other to get a lot of swings in would kind of throw them off at the beginning, and now after 2 years, have the routine down. But with hitting circuit, I mean, I took my whiteboard and I just wrote down what all the stations were. And they know they go read that. They know what the stations are, and they know how to kind of run it with each other. And so they roll through it mostly on their own. I have to remind them of certain things, and we both have to watch their swings and make sure they're doing things correctly. But they're a lot more independent on how they run through that because they know how it works now.
Well, you're coaching them on that. Mm-hmm. I mean, we get all wrapped up into the whole swing like this, throw like this, hit like this, do whatever. I mean, you forget that you're also coaching on life. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that covers so many things. But you're telling me that you can teach a kid how to throw a ball or how to swing a bat, but you can't teach them on how to put it on a tee or how to throw a soft toss to their friend without being dangerous? Yeah. I mean, all of those are things you can learn. And at the same side, you think about the flip side, you're also teaching them how to be, what's the right word, a good teammate and how to help each other out. Yeah. I mean, they may not be there right now in some of the age groups we have, but there's a couple of them that are getting close. Yeah. But pretty soon they'll start doing the turn your hips and do this and all that other stuff because we're teaching them to help each other.
Yeah. Well, shoot, when I got to college, when we'd go hit in the cages, we didn't have a coach around. We had to help each other out because you can't see every little thing that is off in your swing or what's going on. Like,
can't feel it.
We had to be there for each other. Otherwise, nobody would, and you'd just be swinging rep out of rep wrong. And so that was a huge thing for us. But with the circus, too, I will say the big thing that we kind of added, well, actually, there's 2 big things that we kind of added this year. Added making it a group of 3 and having one person hitting, one person actually doing the feeding, whether it's putting it on the tee or doing soft toss or whatever, and then the third person doing an exercise to build body strength of either upper, lower, or core. And this keeps them all kind of busy and engaged in part of it and learning how to help each other out, while at the same time having a chance to get a lot of reps in swing wise, but then also have a good break in between, that they're not so tired that their swing breaks down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hilarious. We literally give them like push-ups to do or some kind of form of sit-up type situation or whatever for them to rest, which seems kind of really counterintuitive, but we're not doing heavy, intense stuff. We're doing stuff that just kind of is going to build a little bit of core muscle, do a little, help them get a little bit of strength. But what the big thing is they, especially with kids, is they don't think they're tired on their swing. They think they just keep swinging and keep swinging and keep swinging. But we know as coaches and adults that, they are getting tired. So it may seem counterintuitive to be like, oh, you're tired, go run. But in this, or something like that, or do push-ups. In this case, it actually fits because you're taking them out of this thing that's making them tired and putting them into this thing that's making them tired. It's completely different.
Yep.
And after that, they're going to feed, which is, let's face it, that's the biggest break of all of them. But being in there and just doing something different, breaking that mold of whatever you're working on, so you're not getting so condensed down in just one motion. And we another thing that builds on that we've talked about is the fact that you just create so many imbalances as an athlete. That's what being an athlete is whoever's got the most developed imbalance, they can throw it harder. I don't know too many people that can throw it 95 miles an hour right-handed and left-handed.
Yeah, except for that one pitcher dude.
Yeah, there's been some. Yeah, there's
not very often.
I don't think they threw it 95. One of the biggest things they had is they could just pick a different arm to throw, but they could still throw really heavy, really fast. But nobody's really conditioned to do that. No. Even your best switch hitters were always way better one side of the plate or the other. Everybody has a more dominant, a bigger imbalance on one side or the other. It's almost guaranteed. But we know that the muscles working together on both sides is going to create a better athlete. So if we don't work them out on both sides, we're creating a weaker athlete.
Yeah. Which you're running right into the other thing that we were adding that I was going to talk about. So
I'm aware. That's why I'm feeding it right to you. Just setting
so
you
I
up.
can just right out of the park.
Or
No.
Fly ball warning track power. Okay.
Oh. I've been doing lots of squats.
Well, okay.
Probably get it over the fence.
So fence. What is the warning fence power? I don't know what that was.
As my high school coach would say, eat another egg for breakfast.
Oh, there we go.
Get that extra protein in.
Raw or cooked?
I think it was cooked. He didn't specify.
Okay.
But no, the other thing that we added in this year, which was really interesting and was total by accident, but we're just running with it, is adding an opposite side to hit. Maybe
we should get a little more technical. We literally mean working right-handed swing and left-handed swing, even if the person's not a switch hitter.
Yeah. So it started in the fall. We had a player who wanted to come hit with us. So we treated it as in, no, you're going to come hit with us.
And we both were switch hitters, so we actually started working on our other weaker side, mainly for a break, because we were hitting quite a bit, 2 or 3 times a week, and we were just getting tired. And it was like, let's just flip over and do right-handed tee for a minute, right-handed soft toss for a minute, because we usually hit left-handed.
I think it was something you heard on one of your podcasts too, maybe Mind Pump or something, that with those imbalances, it's good to try to work them out. So since we both don't play competitive anymore, we're like, well, why not for also a break, but also to kind of work out those muscle imbalances, let's just hit opposite side because we both can. We just don't. And
come on. We were totally getting ready for duck soup. We wanted to dominate a duck soup tournament.
Gonna win. Yeah. Except for every time we come up to that inning that we're going to hit opposite hand, we never get to hit.
No.
All that practice for nothing. But anyway, so our player, she came out and she wanted to hit with us, and we're both naturally are more dominant on the left side, and she's right-handed.
Oh, and we flat out told her she's with us.
Yeah.
We're not there for her. She's out there with us.
Yes, and it was probably the best thing. It really made her take part in everything and not just expect to be coached and watched the whole time. Like, she got a lot more confident, and she ended up having to hit on the opposite side, which was super uncomfortable. But now, like, if you walk in the cage and you saw her hitting left-handed without knowing that she hit right-handed, you probably would just assume she was a left-handed hitter. I mean,
Yep.
she's taken to it really well. And so we're like, wow, that's really interesting. And her right-handed hitting just like jumped, which is crazy because growing up, I always felt like it was like taboo to hit on the other side that you were supposed to hit on unless you were a true switch hitter because it felt like it was going to mess your swing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so nobody ever did that. But we took that and we're like, well, let's experiment with some of the other girls on our team. Add a couple opposite hand stations into the group, like regular tee, opposite tee, then, you know, soft toss, opposite front toss, whatever. Just do it for a couple of them, not all of them, and see what happens. And literally every girl or every player, even the boys, how many kids do you think we've maybe had 18 kids come through? And I think one of them, it didn't change her swing at all, but literally everybody else got better. Nobody got worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing about it is it's so mental. And of course, we know sports is so heavily mental. But when you think about it on the hitting thing, when you switch around, it's so foreign. It feels so weird that first time. And so, of course, we sit there and we basically start preaching fundamentals. So that's, you know, use your legs, turn your hips, all the stuff. Make sure your setup is right and everything. Well, you start thinking about all those little things that on your other natural side you do out of just sheer habit. Mm-hmm. So now that you're kind of thinking about that, you flip back over to your natural side and I think you're just more cognizant of all that stuff. You're just sitting there remembering the fact that you're like, yep, turn my hips. Okay, yep, I'll do this, you know, no problem. And I think that's one of the reasons why it really helps on the other side, because it almost kind of works out your bad habits that you didn't even know you had.
Yeah. Whatever it is, it's just seemed to really work and resonate with the players that we've had come through. So
oh yeah, we're surely not dropping that.
Yeah, it's definitely staying, and I'm going to put it in as much as possible to keep moving forward because
well, it really helps with the young kids too. It's like it just turns them right on. I mean, it's amazing how much they pick up on other stuff.
Well, I've noticed too, like not only from a fundamental side in like hitting improvement, but just the fact that they're more willing to buy in to try whatever you ask them to try. Because every single, especially young kid that I've had, when I'm like, okay, we're going to hit opposite hand, it's like, oh, I can't do it, I'm right-handed. I'm like, just try. And then like the first one feels weird, the second and third one. By the third one, they usually hit it okay, and they're like, oh, I can do it. I'm like, yeah, see, I wouldn't put you up for failure. And I tell them ahead of time, like, you know, this side's going to be difficult. Like, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to look great. And that's fine. We're just working on coordination. I don't expect you to be the best on this side. Like, we're just going to work on it. And by the time they get halfway through that bucket, they're like, no, I'm doing all right. And then they're like, anything you ask them to do after, they're like, okay, yeah, I'll try it. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing because it's so easy for girls to get comfortable where they're at and then push back and be like, no, I don't want to do that. That doesn't feel right. Like, I don't want to line my knuckles up like how you want them because I'm so used to, like, twisting my hands around the bat and have my elbow way up in the back.
Oh, really? You think you got a fix for that?
Oh, my gosh. And so, I don't know. I feel like getting them out of their comfort zone and then seeing a little bit of success and that we're trying to help build them, I think that helps them also because I feel like they're more willing to listen, or they seem to be more willing to listen.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like I said, the opposite side has basically opened up all of our players to being way better at hitting. And I mean, prime example, you said the boys, look at what happened. You weren't a part of it, but you could see what happened with Sebastian in particular. I mean, young kid, 14 years, 15 years old, whatever he is. And of course, he gave me the same look you're talking about that the 8-year-olds. He's like, I'm right-handed. And I'm like, well, congratulations. Today you're hitting some left-handed, you know? And it was hilarious because, I mean, I immediately was just like, nope, got to work on your hips, got to do this or whatever. And he started hitting the ball and you could see him light up. You're like, holy cow. And then he flips over to the right side and he's hitting better. It's just ridiculous. I'm not going to act like it makes any sense whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it just works.
But it works. And that's kind of the whole thing of, in my opinion, especially in hitting, sports, life, whatever, it may make no sense whatsoever to do it this way, but if you're up against things and things need to change, I don't know, maybe try the thing that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, don't put yourself in danger. Don't do something that's, really bad. But I mean, sometimes people have to do things differently than other people because we're all different in our own way.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes the thing that clicks with one person, something else clicks with a different.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it somehow make sense in their brain of like, oh, that's how it needs to feel to make my hips turn that way, or that's what I need to do to make my hands come through like they're supposed to.
Yeah. Well, there's another big thing on that too, especially on the opposite side deal, is that in a way, you're kind of breaking muscle memory, mm-hmm. but you're also building muscle memory. one of the biggest things we run into is, we say muscle memory, and it seems kind of like this mysterious kind of thing of like, oh, my muscles remember how to do it like this. Well, in a way, you're not wrong, but you're also not right. Everything we do in life is creating a habit. Whether we think about it or not, our brains are doing that shortcut on every single thing. So that's why we get in this whole thing of where, like, we can't hold the bat a different way because, well, that's the way we developed that muscle memory scenario. It's a habit that your brain is used to. It goes, here, it feels like this. Mm-hmm. And how many people do you have? Kids have. I mean, we can get into the older ones too. Some, Gabby and stuff like that. I mean, she's 20-some years old, played ball her whole life, and I had to switch her. And it was brutal watching her have to break that muscle memory because everything in your mind says, no, I do it like this.
It's worse. I mean, take me in my 30s and you're like, no, we're going to try post stride, which not a thing in softball ever that I'd ever heard about. And like, no, you're going to widen your stance and not step. You know how hard it is after 30 years of playing to not step? Like, once those habits are like extra years, every year after that, it's so much harder to break. And so it's like, I'm really trying not to, but it's really hard. It's really hard.
By the way, as we're talking about that, I want to go on record right now, even though you'll hear it plenty of times from me from here on out, the step is the dumbest thing in baseball, softball. Hands down, you don't need it. All it does is mess you up. It is the worst thing that anybody has ever done. And yes, if you happen to catch me on a slow pitch softball field, I will have a big, huge leg kick step because I just have been muscle memoried my entire life to do it. And I'm just not that good with it on breaking that in the middle of a game. Yeah. However, I would say that you might be able to tell me, I think it's starting to tone down a little bit.
It's a lot better.
Yeah, it used to be pretty bad, but anymore I'm kind of the point where I'm like, I'm just getting base hits. Yeah. So
it's a lot smaller.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah. But no, you asked me 2-3 years ago about it, I'd probably been like, post stride's fine. Like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I would let girls kind of go either way. But no, the ones that we've moved over to it, I mean, it's night and day they're hitting. And so I'm moved over to team post stride. So.
Hey, I got one more.
It definitely works. It feels weird, especially if you've taught it and everything, but if you start them young, then they never know the difference. And honestly, yes, their timing is not messed up. And then you get into pitchers who pitch different speeds, and you don't have to worry about all that crap.
Oh, yeah. That's the biggest thing where people get messed up on the timing when somebody starts throwing curveballs or changeups or any of that kind of stuff is the fact that they're out on their front foot. Mm-hmm. If you don't step, you're not out on your front foot. You can still be out in front. I'm not trying to act like this thing, like post-stride, fixes that. But as soon as you step, you are committing. And it's one thing if you read it wrong, then you may still be out in front. But if you just step on your normal tempo to step, and all of a sudden it's a changeup, you're toast. You're all arms. Be lucky to hit a dribbler to first base if you're lucky.
Yeah, because that's what the step is. It's a timing mechanism when the pitch is coming out. It's not a step as the pitch is coming in because you don't have time. So you've already committed whether you know what the pitch is or not.
Exactly.
And like you said, I mean, I was decent at hitting a changeup, but it was all arms. It was, okay, I'm going to hold my arms back as long as possible and just try to bloop it over, pop it over. Not a hard line drive, but a decent little line drive right over the infield.
I know, you see
and that's all you had.
Yeah, you see it every time. The weight goes forward, the butt goes out, and you lay the bat down. And I mean, as soon as you see that, you're just like, headable. I mean, did you do it by step or did you do it by read? 9 times out of 10, if you're stepping, it was your step.
Yeah.
When that you read it wrong, your muscle memory from seeing that pitch coming down tells you to step, you move, you do this, and then you're out. Yeah. So if you can stop the step whatsoever, now you're just reading it. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing that nobody talks about is we know how little time you get to read that pitch before you swing.
Yeah,
if you're not going forward, you're gaining all of that time, which, I mean, is huge in the process of your brain and being able to pick that out. So you're gaining the time, you're getting away from the timing aspect, and you're keeping everything centered.
Yeah, and the other thing is a lot of girls, if you do a step, it needs to be a small step, because a lot of girls will try to do a big step, even boys try to do a big step. Your eyes go up and down with it, so now your eyes are moving up and down as a pitch is coming in, moving up whatever direction the pitch might be moving. Yep. How are you going to pick that up? It's the same as like they talk about in outfield when you're running in the grass trying to track a fly ball. If you're on your toes, you're going to be able to track it a lot better because it's not moving. But the minute you run with those heels down, your eyes go up and down. Anytime your eyes go up and down, you're screwed.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, there's a ton of that one in there too. I don't know. You could talk about this forever. I got like 7 things I can go on to now. I'm just
We'll just do a whole episode on post stride.
On post stride. Well, I still want to mess you up. I still have one more to take you on to go to you, but I got to get you just to the point where you're like, yes, post stride is right. Then I'm going to teach you reverse stride.
What the hell's that?
You go wider and you come back.
Okay. What's that supposed to do?
Keep all your weight back.
Maybe you should do that with Amelia.
I mean, I could. I don't think it'll work. Sorry. Never seen a girl. Bless her heart. She has got to be the best attitude, hardest working kid, knows that she can't do it. Prime example of muscle memory. She's doing everything she thinks she can to stop doing it, cannot stop lunging. Yeah. Or put her in so many drills and
the ball so hard.
Yeah, in so many uncomfortable positions, trying to break her of this, and it's just not quite working. I mean, there's no reason we can't, but I don't think it will work. But for you in particular, that's one I've been holding back. Just as you've gotten to the point now where you're almost not stepping at all, we can try that one. But that would probably be one of my favorites to try to do, which is you go extra wide and you come back. Well, when you come back, it loads everything. Then you swing. And it keeps basically, it's really hard to lunge if you're back loading like that.
Yeah.
And you're basically loading everything up for the hit.
Interesting.
But that one's a big break. You got to be pretty comfortable in post stride to be able to go to reverse stride.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's see here. So the other thing, and I don't think we talked about this, is we do a progression in ours. So, I mean, we don't come out of the gate and start doing drop toss.
No.
We don't come out of the gate and start doing directional tees. You know, that's session, 6, 7,
yes.
Whatever. So you kind of got to build your program, too, to work with you. And then you also got to factor in the fact that, you know what, even though you're running every week, some people are going to miss. Yeah, that just happens. I mean, life pops up. So, I mean, we kind of keep it simple in the beginning, especially expecting some kids that have maybe never held a bat before, or ones that just really need the fundamental work.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're kind of building that out that way.
Yep. Yes, yeah, that's our first sessions. A lot of times are dry swings, center tee, because there's not a lot of talking about where your swing's at. As far as timing goes, it's really just straightforward. Normal soft toss. Obviously, we do opposite of those. Long toss, which kind of mimics front toss a little bit, and then front toss. But there, I mean, usually we build up the complexity. So, like, another great one is hip turn on the tee, and all of these we're making small instructional videos, so definitely check out YouTube for those if you don't know what we're talking about or you want to see more information on each of these. We're also going to have a link for a Built For You circuit, so that way you have kind of like the progressions that we work through, and there'll be a link to the videos, so that way you can build your own and kind of go from there and play with it and add stuff in and out. But then build it up to like one-handed tee and hip turn on the tee. And then the next week, you're still doing your soft toss and your front toss and all of those. But then the next week, you're going to add in
double tee,
drop toss from behind. Once they start getting used to the basic normal tee, soft toss, then you start playing with it and add stuff that's a little more difficult, or maybe make some weight, and just really challenge their swing more from that. But you have to build into it. You can't just be like, all right, week 1, we're going to do drop toss, which is hard for literally everybody to do.
Except for me. Then,
sure. Perfect swing.
Perfect. No, but I do want to mention long toss, which is something I think I kind of introduced you to, which I'm sure we'll definitely do a video on, no doubt, because it's a little different. But that one I think has developed into one of my favorites, just because you really do mimic an actual throw. I mean, you feel it. You have to time it. You have to see it coming in and everything like that. But you can do it in such a confined space. And you can do it with the net right in front of you so the balls don't go spraying everywhere. And you can work inside, outside, all that kind of stuff really easily. And I think it's one of the best ones to prepare kids, adults, players, whatever, for a game. So they can do that on the side and go in. And they will almost feel like they've had somebody throwing to them.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is you feel it when you're up there, but when you're standing off the side, you don't see it. Like, I guarantee you a lot of parents don't even realize that's what it does.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because it just looks like, why is he standing so far away?
Yeah, he's just throwing the ball off to the side there.
Exactly. So, I mean, that one's one of those ones, again, is kind of one of my secret sauces on that one. We've always hit way better when I was doing long toss before they walked up.
Mm-hmm. But this even we take it into the games. I mean, we do a little bit of hitting before games. As we get more into competitive, we'll do more of it. But, I mean, when we're sitting there, the girl who's next to go on deck goes out and hits with you. Sometimes you start them on tee, and then you move them up to soft toss and long toss before they move out into the field. So that way, you're priming their swing before they go out there. It's not, oh, I get 3 practice swings, and then I go up and try to hit off this pitcher that's pitching in.
Well, I think my fundamental basis on all of that stuff is until you're playing for the World Series, whatever, and we're talking baseball, softball here, but unless you're playing the World Series, you're developing your swing, your mechanics, your throwing, your fielding, all that stuff you're building for another time. I don't care that you're in the tournament championship. I don't care that you're in the league championship. Whatever it is, we have this stigma of like, oh, I don't want to touch them because they're at the game and everything like that. It's this is when you're supposed to shine. No, you're always working. And I think to me, though, it's a fundamental basis on that. You're never completed. You're constantly working. You need something to focus on. You're constantly doing something else to build for tomorrow.
When you say that, at the World Series or whatever, but we've all been in situations where you're in a game and your swing is generally fine, but in that game or in that weekend, something's off.
Yep.
You should always be tweaking. If I don't win a battle against a pitcher, I'm trying to figure out what I can do better next time to beat her. So why would I just keep the same swing that I had if I wasn't successful? Doesn't mean I have to do a complete overhaul. It might be little stuff. It might be a few more reps. It might be just making sure I get my hands through faster. It might be something super simple, but you should never just not change anything unless you're just hitting like a beast that day.
Oh, I love the little tweaks, the ones that don't mean anything. And I mean that. Like, you got somebody is just, you can just tell their swing looks like an unfolded lawn chair. I mean, it's just so, everything is off. All right, well, you're too close. Well, I mean, if your hips are firing and you're coming through the zone, it doesn't matter that your hips are closed. I mean, but can you tweak them and get them a little bit uncomfortable to plate, and that doesn't change anything in their swing? Absolutely. Now they're thinking about that and diving in. They're forgetting about the fact that they're out in front trying to hit a big hit. So, I mean, it's a little tweak that does technically nothing but gives you something to focus on.
Yep.
And that's kind of...
Sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah. Now, last one, I got to say... We don't use the pitching machine very much.
We don't.
And I know that just drives everybody crazy because the pitching machine is so the thing that you got to do.
It does, and I just don't like it. It's not that I don't see value in it. I think there's value. I used to like hitting off the pitching machine, and I used to be able to get value from it. But honestly, you lose. It's great for timing and getting a little more consistency than maybe having pitchers pitch at you, so you can see it from a distance. But outside of that, I mean, it really does more harm than good in my opinion, especially with younger kids. Because when you're up there, you no longer have time to think about your fundamentals to the point that if they're not already built, then they just go out the window. And you lose all of that while you're trying to swing at the ball. And then I'm trying to correct a million things while you're just trying to swing just to be able to try to make contact because you don't have time to really focus on them, and it's tough.
Well, I grew up on a pitching machine.
Yeah.
I mean, we had them. Been hit plenty of times with them because they're so inconsistent. Now, I have one that's amazing, and it will throw strikes right in there every single time, and I love that one. It is great to work on your swing with because, I mean, it is pretty much going to hold the speed, going to hold the placement almost every single time. So it's great for doing that. But on the flip side, you're learning nothing about how to read the pitch. You're learning nothing about how to basically try to get into a different part of the zone and mix up, the height, the width, the speed, all that stuff that you need to have when you hit a game. So I always felt completely unprepared when I was hitting the games because I didn't see enough live pitching. And so I actually think the pitching machine can be a great fundamental developing tool, but everybody acts as though it's like the thing that says whether you can hit or not. And I completely disagree with that. Then on top of that, if you happen to get pitching machines that are so wildly inconsistent that you almost fear for the kid in the box, which is the situation we're in right now. I mean, I saw that thing hit like 4 feet off of where it was supposed to go, and that's when I was like, we're done with doing pitching machine because I don't know if I'm going to hit a kid in the head. Yeah. Well, they signed a waiver. I'm not doing that. I don't care.
Or so slow that they're so far out in front of it doesn't even matter.
Or so fast that they can't even catch up.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those can happen, and of course, where we're at, we don't have any control over any of that piece. We're not supposed to be touching the machine, which I get it. I mean, there's liability there. But I think my biggest thing is I was introduced to it late in my career, and that was short toss. And it's obviously a little different between, softball and baseball, but it's still the same concept. You're close, you're getting the motion, but who's ever doing it, you don't have to throw super hard, you don't have to basically wear out an arm. I mean, in baseball, best way to do on that one is to basically take the L screen, put it about 20 feet away, grab yourself a chair. And chair is really important because it's so much easier just to flick it off a chair and just throw over the top. And, even I, with a horrible shoulder, can do that 100 times and not feel anything. So it doesn't destroy my arm, but you back me up 40 feet, and you get 4 pitches if you're lucky. And I'll tell you right now, probably most of them will be a strike. But after that, my shoulder's gone. That's just the way it's going to be. But I think you get plenty of being able to have to pick up the ball, read, adjust. Obviously, I'm not going to throw it in the same spot every time. I'm not going to do it on purpose at all. I'm going to be moving it all around anyway, trying to make you adjust and read. So I think that is one of the biggest things that I think is way better than any of the other stuff. Now, same thing in front toss for softball. Mm-hmm. I'm purposely either throwing it slower or faster or left or right or high or low and all the different combinations of that, trying to mimic the stuff they will see in the game.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway is that the pitching machine is fine. It's a good tool if you use it as a tool. It's like when you get to that point, fundamentally sound, you're building your swing, just the consistent bringing it in so that way you get kind of some timing in there, but it's not where you should put all your eggs in one basket. There's so many other great tools that you can use up to that point. And yes, use it, but use other things as well.
Yeah. I just like to see people break out of like the pitching machine.
Yeah. Because there's times that we've gone to hit in the groups before us have been groups, and that's literally all they've done is the pitching machine, and each girl gets like 10 balls as they're waiting all on the side because they don't do anything else. And then that's all they get, and it's all front toss, and it's like, or all machine. And you're like, okay, waste of building fundamentals and using really good skills up to that point.
Well, on top of that, it's one of the worst things. I mean, only one kid can hit.
Only one kid can hit. It's difficult.
Anybody else is going to be in a danger zone.
Yep.
I mean, going somewhere else, you can mix things up a little bit more.
Yeah. It's also a lot harder to coach because you're further away, and with all the noise and everything, it's harder to get their attention and have them look at you and focus on certain things.
Sorry, I'm dying laughing because I'm literally like the only coach that will literally stand like we're doing T-work right next to him, and people are looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, hey, they might hit me in the face. It'd probably make me look better. Yeah, whatever, but I'm here coaching. Chances of them fouling one off right in my grill is going to be pretty low.
Yeah, especially if you stand the right angle off to the side behind.
Yeah, they kind of got to cue ball it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I noticed you know that I know where I'm standing, where I'm like, I'm pretty safe here, and I'm watching the swing, so if it's coming at me, I'm going to block it. Maybe break a finger or something like that, but whatever.
Yeah, you notice I haven't batted an eyelash. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Good luck.
There were a couple times I thought you were like, really, you're going to stand there? And I'd be like, yeah. But whatever. All right, well, I know me and you could talk for hours on this. Maybe we'll come back with a more specific question, but I think we're pretty much covered about all we want to cover on circuit hitting for right now.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, definitely drop questions if you have them, and we'll try to address them in later episodes. And like I said, we've got the circuit where you can download it and have your own copy of like some of the stuff we do. And we've got a bunch of videos that are coming out on different drills and stuff and breaking them down to show you what to look for and how to set them up.
Well, yeah, give us your improvement. Give us what you think is better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, worst case scenario, we could say no, that we don't agree with you, but we like doing things differently.
Do.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
Thank you for watching Kait and Nevada. Hope you've enjoyed this show and found it useful and empowering. If you have any questions or comments, please contact them at kinetics.com. That's KNETICX.com. They're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. And please write a review of the show. Kait and Nevada appreciate hearing the feedback, and they welcome your reviews, and your word of mouth will help others learn how to feel better and be better.